Welcome.
Hello everyone, really excited to talk to you today. We've got an exciting session lined up where I'm going to talk around the technology that enables Kambi to offer single sports, single game sports wagering from odds to risk. So it's going to cover a lot of ground in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So I work for Kambi as the head of pre-sales solutions, and that enables me to really have a very broad overview of the whole technology solution that we deliver. And I'm going to show you in this slide at a glance what that looks like. The Kambi is a premium end-to-end sports betting service, and that means that we cover everything that's required to create markets, to create offers, to create the odds, to do the risk, and to have a client to display it. And there are some of the areas that I will talk about today. We're a global organization of over 900 people, and we really only do sports betting. And we'll talk about that in some of the slides coming up. But I want to say this at the beginning, that Kambi utilize sports data, and we do consume sports data, but everything else post that is built and managed in-house. And we will talk about some of those processes as we go through. But the real-time sports data is really the score in a football match. The tennis, from the umpire's chair, what's happening on the tennis court. It's the actual sports data itself. And can we take that sports data, and we have a big team of technical, as a company of 900 employees, we have a large technical team who manage that process, and we have a large trading team. So actually as an organization, you can think that we are a technology business, but we're also a bookmaker. We actually trade these and manage this ourselves in-house with our trading team, and we will talk about that. So who do we do this for? Well, we don't do it for ourselves. We don't have a brand that is just for Kambi. We don't have a Kambi sportsbook that we market to them. We do it on behalf of our operators. So we are a B2B supplier only. And I think that's important. It's important because it allows us to focus on the success of our operators. It's important that we put them forward and we enable their success rather than looking at maybe a sportsbook that we run in-house as the priority of the business. And we do that for very many businesses, both in Europe and in North America. And you can see some of the names that we have displayed in the screen. It's really important to know that it is a true partnership, and we will share knowledge, we share software, we have workshops with those partners to enable them to be market leading in sportsbook. Well, let's talk a little bit about how we do that. So, Kambi are only a sports betting company. And that might sound obvious as I'm talking about sports betting, but it's not always, because in this space of online gambling, there are many different verticals, poker, casino, which is obvious, but there are also other things underneath that are maybe more generic, more commodity-based, maybe things that people or operators want to run in-house. And typically that would be the gaming management system. Also, many of those functions may already exist in the organization. So Kambi are only the sports betting provider. We don't do anything else within that ecosystem, but we partner with people and we choose the best partners for you as a solution. We also may work with you if you have those already in-house. So some of the things that, okay, if we just do a sportsbook, what does that mean? What does that kind of cover? And I've put together a very high level kind of value chain of a sportsbook. And Kambi do the pieces in light blue. So yes, we don't do sports news, we don't do the scouting data as I just mentioned, we buy those in. But what we do is we And we'll go through that in this presentation. We are doing the offering, we're doing the risk, we're doing the modelling, we're doing the analytics, we're doing the bet placement, we're running the infrastructure that enables the bets to take place, we do the regulation, and so on and so on. So that's a very high-level look at what Kambi do. Now, we do this, we're a global company, as we mentioned at the beginning, but we have had real success in the US, and we have enabled our partners to be first to market in many, many different states, as you can see. I think that's testament to how we're set up as an organization, about how we have built our infrastructure, how we built our software, and our focus on the operator. It's always about the operator with Kambi. It's not really about Kambi. Kambi is a known name in the industry, but we're not a known name outside of that, and we like that. We like keeping the fact that we are pushing our operators first. So, okay, let's talk about the tech. When you want to consume, when you want to wager, you need a client, and Kambi produce a client. Kambi produce a leading client, actually, and you can see this is our latest iteration of that client, which works on mobile, works on web, desktop web. Also is the basis of our retail setup, so that you have a unified solution for your players, a unified experience as they go from maybe a casino onto their mobile when they're at home, so that there's a consistent approach. So we need a client. Okay, but what does the client needs something within it, and so we call that the Kambi offering. These are the matches, these are the odds that we generate in-house based off that sports data, and we push that data into that client. The odds come in different formats. Okay, so the markets could be a pre-match market, could be an in-play market, and it can be in-event. So pre-match is typically when the game hasn't started, and these are odds, and Kambi lead the way in getting those odds up early so that you can take early market share. But in-play is really where it is at, and I think that this is true. It has been true in both Europe and in the US, that the in-play markets are the ones that are driving where the players want to interact, they want to watch the game, they want to wager as that goes on. To do that, the technology must be super fast, because bets are placed and settled in milliseconds. So let's talk a little bit about that. So Kambi, taking that sports data, create markets. No one gives us those markets. We have to come up with those markets ourselves. Some of them might be obvious, like the next goal. Some of them are not so obvious. So things like the result of next drive in an NFL game. That's something that we've kind of come up with and realised that is an interesting thing to be able to wager on, worked out the parameters enabling us to do so, and created a market. And once we've created the market, we then have to be able to do the odds to those markets. So to ensure that we have good odds, competitive odds, fast odds, and that is true for all of those different markets or offerings. So, we have to work out the odds for all of those individual things that you can wager on here on this screen. So this isn't a single game, that we have 70 live markets, some of which are, we've generated and come up with the idea that market exists in the first place. And you can imagine that to work out all of the odds for all of those things is a considerable amount of work. Kambi do that in-house, and they do it on your behalf as an operator. So as we go through, we can see that actually single event wagering is very important because it allows choice. So if you're going to have choice, you're going to have multiple markets. We just said we've had 170, 70 live. That allows your users, your players, to choose what is exciting for them. And so we have to display that back into the client, again, in a very fast and scalable way. We just go through. One of the other things that's very interesting is that if you have multiple singles that you can wager on for a single game, you can pack them together into a parlay. And so one of the things that we've done at Kambi is that to We've made that as a pre-pack. We've made that as a group of singles that we think are interesting that you can put into that client and allow a player to just click on that button. Okay, you know what, I like the look of that. I don't need to work out all the different options. That's another kind of building it up from the ground up from all of those independent single markets that we allow people to wager on. So going through, that's great. We've got this client that's really, really good looking, user experience, players like it. We've got really good odds that flow into that and Kambi do that on your behalf as an operator. We allow your players to place bets, but that then leads to the question, okay, well, who's managing the risk on this? And the answer to that is Kambi. So Kambi take the markets that we produce odds for, we put them into the client, but we also ensure that the risk is managed for you on your behalf. And we do that in a really clever way. So Kambi take all of the players that we have in our global network, not just within your operator or within your casino, across the whole Kambi network. Now those players are their data and that is by behaviour. So we know if we get sharp money on a specific game in the USA, then we can see that we've got sharp money coming into Canada. And vice versa, if that's in the UK, or if that's in continental Europe, or in terms of soccer, we have the ability to see what's going on because we have a huge amount of players across the network. Now that data that flows through for the risk is anonymized. We don't know the names of those players, we don't know where they live, we know what jurisdictions they're in, but that is all. But it allows us to give much better pricing. It allows us to understand the market at a market level, at a global market level. And we then, from that process, we can understand what are the metrics, what are the things that make a player profitable, what are the player long term, how can we balance that so that we can give you the choice in terms of your risk strategy and where you want to go. Do you want to be aggressive or do you want to go a little bit easy on certain areas? And we give you that as a choice, but that data is ours and we give you the option. So the next slide we've got is I wanted to come back and kind of combine the fact that we've got odds being generated and risk. And those two things go very much hand in hand. We need to do that in a way that balances the odds production, the player categorization, and the risk all in a back-end system that is real-time, that is global, that it is set up specifically to your jurisdiction. So that is the infrastructure that makes Kambi special. And it has to be done together. If you break those two things apart, if you break odds and you break risk apart, then it's going to be a suboptimal solution. You're kind of trading a little bit in the dark because you're unsure of where the money is going. So Kambi is in a fairly unique position there in that we have a very large player base and allows us to make better decisions on your behalf. So I'm coming up to the end of my time, but I just wanted to finish on last two slides. And this one is around the differentiation options that you may have. So we have all of them, the odds, we have the risk, but we allow you to have your take on that. So we do that in different ways, from odds price differentiation to different risk strategies. But the most visible one, and I'm going to finish up on this, is we allow you to have a differentiated client. So if you go back to that first slide where we discussed the Kambi client, the Kambi client is a very extendable client that allows you as an operator to really put your kind of stamp on it, to make it feel unique to you. And there's many different journeys that we can take you on in terms of minor tweaks to this, to kind of full takeover of that client and to inject your own completely your own design into that. So that is again another example of where we worked with you as a partner, advising, sharing knowledge within this sportsbook space. So that's really, I've had my time. I'm really looking forward to doing any Q&A that you may have. So please, if you've got any questions, it'd be great to answer them now.